Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Matt Youmans. We are live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort Casino. Very busy 3-hour program lined up today with some great guests, including Jeff Seeley, his best bets at the Rocket Classic this week on the PGA Tour. We'll talk some Major League Baseball, Jensen Lewis, a little bit later on. And football today, Chargers and Broncos, heavy AFC West. Fernando Ramirez on the show, Chad Andrus on the program as well. You're going to break down this division with us hardcore coming up in about 30 minutes, Matt. You have an MVP bet that you like in the NFL that you bet. And today's the day, like all of our bets are due for the first edition of the Pro Football Betting Guide here at VSiN. So I was reading that today. It was like almost 30 pages, I think, at last check. With all those bets in there, it's going to be a big boy again this year.
Was it 30 pages?
It was close to 30,
I mean, when I went through that file a couple nights ago, I was blown away by the detail in Paul Howard's write-ups on his.
I couldn't believe it.
That was incredible. I've never seen him do thorough work like that.
I almost thought to myself, did he go to AI and have that done for him, or did somebody write it up on his behalf? Because I had the same exact thought that you did.
It's incredible. That's all I can say. That's worth the price of the guide alone.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Agreed. So we'll get to that coming up again, and busy Major League Baseball card today as well. Little NBA, though, news from last night and this morning. This trade for the Boston Celtics and the Portland Trailblazers, right? And the talk with the new ownership there in Boston with this organization, Matt, for a long time has been because of how much money they're paying their players, they're going to break it up. The Tatum injury, they're going to have to dump some of these guys. And Drew Holiday, who is on the move, going to Portland in exchange for Anthony Simons, who I like, and 2 second-round picks. I think this is a pretty savvy move for Boston.
Okay, I agree, and I want to know what the hell are the Trailblazers doing?
Thank you very much.
When you have a young team like that, why would you make a trade for a guy who's going to be an anchor to your salary cap and just weigh down the franchise, especially when he's older? I don't really get what Portland's doing here. I guess this is why certain franchises lose year after year after year. And if they make the playoffs, they barely make the playoffs, get bounced early. Just when I saw this trade, my first thought was, what are the Trailblazers even thinking here? It's obvious what the Celtics are trying to do. You got to dump salary.
Sure.
You're going to have to rebuild the roster a little bit with Jason Tatum out next year, and you got so many big contracts. I like what Boston did. I'm seriously mind-boggled over what the Trailblazers are doing here, but Anthony Simons is a nice player, and you get him on the cheap, and you're giving away a guy who's overpaid and too old to really help you much in the future.
Did you know that he's 37 years old?
Yes, I do know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
that's what I said.
astonishing.
It's a bad deal for the Blazers. Why would they do this?
I don't get it, and I think this is one of the teams right out west that, well, first of all, it's Portland, and they've been bad for a while, so nobody ever talks about them. I actually kind of liked them going into next year as maybe a potential playoff team.
But you're talking like a 7 or 8 seed in the playoffs.
At
or something
best,
like that.
right, yeah, not worth a bet to win the Western Conference by any stretch. And I thought maybe in a couple of years with this young core, Simons being at the front of that, they're going to be dangerous eventually because they have the right pieces, I think, around him. And this to me was a clear move for Boston, where not only it's a salary dump, but they know that they're going to be missing those 29 points per game and all those numbers offensively for Jason Tatum. Simons can fill it up. I mean, there was a long stretch during this show last year during the basketball season. Every time the Blazers were playing, I wanted to bring up his alternate 3-point props because he had long stretches where, he's taken 10, 11, 12 a game. He's hitting 4 or 5 of them. And it was, the numbers were right. And this guy is a good basketball player. And now he goes to a team. This to me has just Brad Stevens written all over it again. He gets so many moves correct.
Well, when he was making this deal with the Blazers, he had to put the phone down and laugh and say, I can't believe they're going to do this.
Right? Yeah.
You look at it from the Portland perspective, what could they possibly be thinking? Can you explain it at all?
I really don't. I mean, do they think that Holiday's going to come there and be the veteran leader on that young team I just described, and somehow that's going to be the sneaky part to get him into the playoffs? I don't know.
But the goal should not be just to get into the playoffs.
No.
You're trying to build a team that can win in the future like OKC Thunder have done, right? That's what franchises like Portland need to be doing. Compile draft picks, get the right guys, build a young team, build it the right way, And the OKC Thunder have done that. Sam Presti's done a phenomenal job with the Thunder.
Yep.
You know, I don't love this OKC team, but hey, they just won the championship, so you can't take that away. And I don't see what the Trailblazers are trying to do here at all.
Could it be?
You got a guy who's close to 40.
Yeah.
You're bringing in, trading away a good young player. It just doesn't make sense.
Is it possible this could be a repeat of what happened a couple of years ago when the Blazers acquired Jrue Holiday from Milwaukee for like 6 seconds before they eventually traded him to Boston? Could he be on the move again somehow?
I guess, but I mean, who really wants Holiday at that kind? By the way, his average annual salary the next 3 years like $35 million or something.
Super high.
Who wants that? Who wants that contract on the books? He's he's obviously a valuable player, but he's getting close to 40, and I don't know. I just don't see the value in doing this for the next few years.
No, neither do I. I really don't. What did you make of? I know you guys probably talked about this a lot yesterday because it happened on Sunday. What was your takeaway on the Kevin Durant deal to Houston?
Well, KD, when was the last time he was on a team that was a winner? First of all, the Rockets probably feel like they need more mature leadership. I don't think I've used the word mature with Kevin Durant for a while. He seems like very sensitive. Mm-hmm. Can't handle much criticism. He's getting close to 40. He's had some injuries in his history. And see, the Rockets, I think, were building everything the right way, too. Even though I was severely disappointed with Jalen Green and a couple of his disappearing acts in the playoffs, he's still a very young player that you're not going to give up on just because he didn't light it up in the playoffs in a couple of games. The Rockets have a lot of young talent. I don't hate the deal for Durant because I think they're just trying to win now, and they feel like maybe he can get them over the top this year. And I do feel like the West is there to be had. I don't believe in this OKC domination talk that a lot of people are buzzing about in the media. I think the West can be won. And maybe Kevin Durant can help get the Rockets over the top, maybe not. I don't love the trade for the Rockets. The Suns have have turned into a total disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Money mismanagement and everything else. I guess this is one of those trades you would have to evaluate after the season. Say, did it work or did it not? I'm skeptical. For me, KD does not move the needle like he used to, not even close.
No, he does not. I'm not rushing to bet plus 750 on the Rockets to win the NBA title next year.
No way.
There's absolutely no chance. I mean, that's, good luck for those of you who are on it, but I can't get there. There's not a single chance.
When you make a bet like that, first of all, if you make it now, you got to wait about 12 months to cash it.
Right.
And the second thing is, KD could easily go down with some sort of injury this year. At his age, with his history, you can't make that bet.
Yep. Last week, we had Henry Abaddon from True Hoop, and the draft is tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. So he had a great idea, and he said, to me anyway, I loved it. First time I heard anybody, and it was his idea, his original idea. He said that win or lose, if he's Oklahoma City, he would offer a ton of this stuff to Dallas for the number 1 pick and take Cooper Flagg. A lot of the picks.
I can see his reasoning here. What I think OKC should do is package a couple of these picks. In fact, I got the total number of first-round picks. What is it, like 5? Is it 5 over the next 3 years?
It's a lot. 5
first-round picks over the next 3?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you have to deal some of those assets because you're not going to be able to keep all those players. You don't have space for all those players. How about trade a couple of those picks and trade up for Trey Johnson? You got to have a shooter.
Have to.
OKC's weakness is three-point shooting. I would trade up and get a shooter. Cooper Flagg's a really good shooter. I love him as a player because he can do so many things to help you win. But how much would you have to move to Dallas to get up to the number 1 spot to give him? You have to give out 5 first-rounders?
I mean, because if you're Dallas, right, like what would it take?
Those are low first-round picks.
Sure, that's right. Yeah. But if you're the Mavericks on their side, right, you're going to probably want everything that they have to offer. And you probably, they probably can't even give you a package that would make sense to you because you're thinking Cooper Flagg is going to be, he's the biggest star since Wembanyama and one of the biggest prospects we've had come out of college and, since LeBron played high school. But you know what I'm saying, right? He's that big of a prospect. So I don't even know if 5 first-round picks and 2 players on this Oklahoma City roster would do it for Dallas.
I would not do the deal if I were Dallas. First of all, you're going to take a big PR hit if you do it.
Massive.
You just trade away Luka Doncic.
Yep.
Now you're going to trade away Cooper Flagg. Mm-hmm. How can you survive that? First, I wouldn't do the deal. I wouldn't even do the deal for the freak. You were talking about trading Giannis Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee to Dallas for Cooper Flagg. I wouldn't do that. You've got Flag on a rookie contract for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Why would you trade for a guy like Giannis who you're going to have to pay $50, $60 million a year?
Sure. By the way, the numbers for the draft tomorrow night, they continue to be on the move. Flag, forget it. I mean, it's minus 20,000 or whatever it is. Harper was as low as minus 3,300 earlier today. I saw another book where he got to like minus 10,000 in that range to go number 2. Yeah. VJ Edgecombe from Baylor moved from minus 165 to minus $3 to go third overall in the draft. And then what do you think about this? Number 4 overall, Knapel from Duke, now plus 150 to go that high.
Yeah, here's the way I rank the players in the draft. It's obviously Flag 1, Dylan Harper 2. Actually, I rank Trey Johnson 2 and Dylan Harper 3. And after that, you kind of put the names in a hat, and it's going to be your personal preference who you like there. I'm not sure that Con Knipple would be a top 5 pick on my board.
Yeah. I like the idea of him, but I think I've seen a guy like Con Knapel come out of college many, many times in previous years, and it's like that person's never been like a top 5 pick.
No.
So maybe he's going to be really good.
That's the type of player I would take at number 12, number 14, somewhere in that range and feel okay about it. I would not take him at 4 or 5.
I totally agree. Up next, we will touch on today's Major League Baseball card, tell you about some really good new baseball betting tools at vsin.com, K projections, year-fee reports, weather as well, and games on the board for tonight. It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
So, Matt, I was reading the VSiN newsletter earlier this morning, sent out by Bill 80. Try to get to it every single day. And I knew that we were going to be adding some more baseball stuff, like tools to the website sometime soon. And it was great to see us now teamed up with Ballpark Pal, because I subscribe to the website. I think it's absolutely awesome. And now it's a part of vsin.com as well. And so some of the stuff that you can now find when you become a VSiN Pro subscriber, go to vsin.com/subscribe today. We have the full weather reports. There's a year-fee, nerf-free report now every single day explaining the odds of what would be worth a bet. And the one thing that I have been like obsessed with at Ballpark Pal is now on vsin.com as well. It's the daily K projections. And it tells you like where they're at with their numbers, the projected odds. And then if you can actually find better than that, the value percentage that would be to tag along with a K-prop like that as well. Very useful stuff. And they were on a run earlier this year where like some of the stuff with the projections, with the K-props, they were just crushing it. So,
really?
Oh yeah, I would file this stuff away and look at it on a daily basis.
Do you have it up right now?
I do, yeah.
How about Chase Burns, who's going to start for the Reds today, number 2 pick in the draft last year? What's the K projection for him against the Yankees?
So the projected line there was 4.5. They project him at 4.36 Ks in this game. And here's the thing, right? The line is minus 170 over 4.5. So based on only 4.36, there's a negative 27.81% value to that bet. They think that actually, based on the betting number here, the under 4.5 Ks would be worth a bet.
That's going to be interesting. I'm not going to make that bet, but Chase Burns against the Yankees tonight, I think, is the most fascinating thing happening in baseball today.
Well, so you're a Yankees fan, and I had this game circled as like the number 1 talking point overall as for you that I wanted to bring up anyway, because Burns, again, making the debut, 2nd overall pick in last year's draft, a 1.77 ERA across 13 starts in AAA, or the minors, I should say, but only 12.1 innings at the AAA level. But according to like every site that you look at, he is one of the best prospects in all of Major League Baseball. How about the spot, though? Warm weather at that ballpark against the Yankees?
Hey, I'll tell you what, last night the Reds threw, 4 or 5 pitchers out there and held the Yankees to 1 run. A solo homer by Aaron Judge in the first inning. But you're right, that typically is a launching pad, and that's a tough spot for a rookie to go in there. You make your Major League debut against the Yankees. Chase Burns grew up a Yankees fan, by the way. Do you think he's going to be jacked up about this start tonight? You got a 22-year-old, the team he idolized when he was a kid. He's going to be facing Aaron Judge in the first inning. I think what makes this so interesting to me is Burns has a very live fastball, averages about 97, hits triple digits on a regular basis. He's also got a pretty good slider and a decent changeup. But again, I think more than anything tonight, it's going to be the Yankees are going to be sitting on his fastball. And they're also going to think that he's going to be juiced up, and emotional, and that his control might be a little bit off, right? And the Yankees will be taking a lot of pitches here with him. And that's why when you're talking about that K prop, his pitch count might run up there to the fact where he's not going to go deep into this game, and he might only get 3-4 strikeouts. Who knows? Then again, a guy who's throwing triple digits might blow away the Yankees tonight because this Yankees lineup is not red hot right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. And I would ask you this, too. Do you have a tendency to trust young pitchers who come up like fireballers compared to like young hitters? Because the examples this year, when we finally watched Jack Caglione get called up, took a minute for him to succeed.
Sure, yeah.
Same thing is going on right now with Roman Anthony, who was like the best prospect in all of baseball. The hits are not exactly coming at an alarming rate here. But with pitchers who throw this hard, look at the Mizorowski kid for the Brewers. He's like must-watch TV all of a sudden. He's made,
awesome.
2 starts?
Awesome to watch. Partly because he's so big, too.
Yeah.
He just looks like a monster out there in the mound.
Yeah.
He's got the stuff to back it up.
How would you like to face that? I mean, it's not Randy Johnson, but it's like the right-handed version here of something close.
Very similar. Very similar. Here's the thing with Chase Burns. I would feel a lot better betting on him in his second start than his first. I think emotions are going to be an issue for him tonight.
Yeah.
And there's an adjustment period. You're facing major league hitters, one after another. There's no soft spots in the lineup. Oh. And it's not like AAA. It's a huge leap from AA or AAA to the majors. And Yankees got plenty of guys in that lineup who could hit him tonight. So this is the one game. This is the must-see game for me tonight in MLB.
Yeah, I would agree. I want to see what he looks like as well. And plus, you have the star power of the pinstripers coming in to the Red Stadium there and playing that team and also taking him on. I wanted to run this one by you as well. Like, how much stock at this point of the season do we really need to buy into like home road splits? There's a perfect example tonight, right? Because the A's are not a good baseball team. And they've been playing some pretty bad baseball for like months now, the way it seems, right? They're getting the best pitcher in baseball with Skubal, and he's a gargantuan favorite tonight, $3 or higher. On the run line, in fact, it's like $1.40. But Severino, pitching in Sacramento this year, he's made 10 starts. He's 0-7 with almost a 7 ERA. The whip is 1.6. He's awful at home. He's allowed 7 home runs. On the road, in 6 starts, 0.93 ERA, 0 home runs, and a sub-1 whip.
It's funny you brought that up because I do spots on Monday night, Tuesday morning, I guess you would say, with Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. And I was trying to come up with a baseball play for their show. And flirting with the idea of playing the Reds. And my second option was playing the Tigers on the run line today. And I said, lay 1.5 with Skubal, even though his last start wasn't that great. It looks almost a little bit too easy to lay 1.5. So I look at Severino, and I looked at his road numbers, and I said, I'm not going to make that bet.
Yeah. I was going to say, if there's ever a time to hold your nose and bet the A's plus a 1.5 here against Skubal, I mean, I don't know. It might be 7-0 Tigers at the end of the 4th inning. But
yeah, it's tough to bet teams like the A's. I don't like to do it because yesterday on the show we had Mike Palm and Mike North, and those guys had a lot of good reasoning behind the White Sox play. When you bet bad teams like the White Sox, you can't be surprised when bad things happen, right?
No, of course not.
Bad teams like the A's, it's just a tough way to make a living. Betting baseball like that every day, betting the bad teams. Yeah. It's
Skubal we're talking about here, too.
And you're betting against the number 1 or number 2 pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, that's a little tricky. So did you eventually land on the Reds?
No, I did not. We just talked about the Reds-Yankees game. Okay. I didn't bet it. Just not sure what you're going to get out of Chase Burns because, again, I think emotions are going to be a big issue for him to deal with in this start tonight against the Yankees. I wouldn't be surprised if his control is off because, he's so jacked up to make this start. And, again, it's a guy who can throw triple digits. He's going to be throwing the gas.
Yep.
Yankees will be sitting on the fastballs, too.
Yeah, and to your point, Yankees have been like the best walking team in baseball the entire year.
And they're going to take plenty of pitches tonight. They're going to make him work.
Yeah, I would think so. They're not going to make it easy for the young fella. Great pitching matchup in Houston tonight. Phillies are taking on the Astros. Suarez against Valdez. Both guys have really good numbers. I might look at like an outs prop here for both of them, I guess. Suarez has made 9 starts. He's really under the radar, man. 6-1 record, a 2.20 ERA. He allowed 7 earned runs in his first start of the season against Arizona, but since then he has pitched at least 6 innings in all 8 starts, and 7 in 5 of them, including 3 straight. And Valdez has basically had a quality start or 6+ innings pitched in 7 of his last 9 starts. Could be a great duel here tonight.
That could be a good one. Are you going to look at the total or a side?
I would actually, the Astros are very good against lefties. So I give them the edge in this game, and Valdez is just a guy that I don't like to bet against too often.
I like Valdez too. That's a tough one because I've got to really love a game to lay anywhere in the 150 range.
I understand, yeah.
You know, one thing I do with baseball bets, do you bet round robins too often?
I don't in baseball too much, but I do during the football season.
Okay. Baseball's the only time I actually use round robins.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
And if I have games like this, let's say like the Reds, the Astros, some games I like but don't love, might play a 4-teamer with 3s and 4s on the round robin, and you can hit some big scores if everything falls in place for you that day.
Yeah.
But then again, you don't have to risk a lot, to win a lot when you're playing the round robins. That's why I like them for baseball. And you can play those 150 favorites. It doesn't really hurt you.
I like that idea. I'm going to copy that. That's a good one. Bet smarter this football season. VSiN Pro can help you start strong. Our new NFL betting guide drops this week. Again, picks are due by like 6 o'clock Pacific tonight for everybody here at the network. And early access means a better shot at spotting value in futures markets before the lines move. Now is the perfect time to join with our football special. Only $175 for full VSiN Pro access from today through the Super Bowl. That's every sport we cover, every day. Special early bird price. And the sooner you sign up, the more you get out of it. You're going to be the first in line for our NFL betting guide, your playbook for the season, packed with team previews, power ratings, and season-long best bets. Plus, you're going to get a daily best bet email from our expert hosts and guests, real-time betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, live and on-demand shows via the VSiN Watch app, full access to VSiN.com's analytics, tools, and pro systems. All you have to do, go to VSiN.com/subscribe now and lock in the football special for only $175. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. And then while you're there, you can check out those new betting tools from Major League Baseball as well that we talked about.
Actually, we run a lot of promos out there, a lot of specials for subscriptions. That's the best one to get because it runs all the way through, like you said, the Super Bowl.
It's incredible value. Yep. So up next, we will go down the path of the NFL and some best bets that we have in the guide. Matt has a strong breakdown on the AFC West. Find out his details on it coming up next year on Follow the Money.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
As mentioned earlier in the show, the VSiN Pro Football Betting Guide is coming out a little bit later on this week. You're all about the AFC West. Now, before we get into this year, have you tried? The Chiefs have won it so many years in a row that you lose count almost, right? Have you tried to make a case for another team to win the division in any other year? Like, forget about this year for a second.
No. I can just answer that right now. No.
I don't think I have either.
So in recent years, you get a lot of handicappers, bettors, touts, whatever you want to call them, who go out and try to be bold and try to pick. This is the year the Chiefs are going to get knocked off. I have not done that. And in fact, I have not been betting the Chiefs under their win total. This year is a little bit different for me. And I do think that a lot of it has to do with the division being tougher from top to bottom. Part of it has to do with the Chiefs' luck factor being off the charts last season when they won so many close games. And the third is their weaknesses really got exposed by the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Oh, big time, yes.
And also, you can say it's a cliche, but I believe in the Super Bowl loser hangover. What happened with the 49ers last season?
I'm not going to disagree.
You go back year after year after year, and I think when you combine all those factors, I think this could be the year a team takes down Kansas City in the AFC West.
And the numbers are moving accordingly, right? Because, and I told you this, I think it was maybe last week when you were making the case for one of the teams in this division to go over their win total. We'll tell you that in a second, but I found a number on them at like plus 425. They're now plus 350. And that's the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. So they're taking money. That's here at Circa. And I did see, I think they were like 4-1 over at the Westgate. That's gone. I see them as low as 3-1 to win the West now. Which,
yes,
okay. People obviously been gobbling up those better numbers on the Denver Broncos, and you had a very strong comment last week, and that for people who missed the show, you said that the Broncos have the best roster in this division?
Broncos have the best roster in the division, one of the best rosters in the NFL. Yes.
You're that strong on it.
Oh, I love their roster. In fact, we talked about this on your show last year, and I heard so many people talk about how Broncos are going to be bad. Even one of our mutual friends, Adam Hill, was saying last year at this time, Broncos could be the worst team in the NFL, or one of the worst teams in the NFL. He covers the Raiders, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people, it was across the board, so many people thought the Broncos were going to be really bad in Sean Payton's second year. And in the NFL betting guide, I actually wrote up the Broncos, and I recommended the win total under. When I watched the Broncos in the preseason in August, I talked about it on your show, I did a 180 on the Broncos because I said this team is far more talented than people think. And Bo Nix is better than people think. And I was not that high on Bo Nix.
Oh, see, again, like who was?
Right. And I watched them in the preseason and Sean Payton's offense, and I watched the Broncos every preseason game. I'm one of the weird people who loves to watch preseason. And I record the games and watch them over and over. I said, this Broncos team's got some serious talent. People are underestimating Denver. And their win total was 5.5.
That's
so
right.
I hate to change course on something like that. But I had to because it was obvious to me that the Broncos over the 5.5 is going to be one of the best win total plays in the league.
Yeah.
And they started 0-2 and still flew over the number and went 10-7. So if you look at the Denver defense last year, led the league in sacks with 63, ranked number 3 in scoring at 18.3 points a game. Mitch, on paper, this Denver defense is better, much better, I think, than it was a year ago when it was one of the best defenses in the league.
That's wild. I mean, and look what they did in the draft to address it even more.
Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas, the first-round pick. Great pick, right? Not only that, you bring in Dre Greenlaw, linebacker from San Francisco, and Talanoa Hufanga from San Francisco, who's a great player in the secondary. Right there, you add 3 studs to a defense that was, I'll say, top 3 in the NFL last season. How can you not love Denver?
I think you got to be super high on them this year. And so you like the win total over. Did you take a bet yet on the division?
Yeah, I did. I finally bet it.
Did you? Okay.
I wanted to bet it before the 350 disappeared. I got this report here. Jeff Davis worked on this report on the NFL futures. He gave it to Mike Palm, and we talked about it on the show yesterday. Broncos were plus 425, like you said here at one point. Now plus 350. I looked around. 350 was the best price in the market. So I'm taking the 350 now because I think it's going to be gone pretty soon. And if you look at the schedule, you say, well, the schedule's much more difficult than it was a year ago. It is more difficult. But guess what? Those teams you're going to point out on this schedule, they've also got to beat the Broncos.
True.
So I don't think Denver's going to be shaking in fear that the schedule's a little bit more difficult, that they got to play the Commanders and the Eagles and some of the teams that were not on the schedule a year ago. I just right now I'm looking at Denver as a team. It wouldn't stun me if Denver had Super Bowl type potential. And you're talking an AFC that's loaded, right, with the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, Bengals. I don't think the Broncos are a Super Bowl team yet, but they made the playoffs a year ago, and I think they can go toe-to-toe with those heavyweights in the AFC now. When you've got an elite defense like this, also, what I should talk about, the big part of it, Sean Payton and his staff have put together one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. There's a couple questions. Almost every team has questions on the offensive line.
Right.
But this Denver offensive line is solid. Look at the playmakers around Bo Nix, the running backs that Sean Payton has in that offense now, the receivers, the tight ends. I think this is a complete team. I love the roster top to bottom. I know that Chad Andrus is probably going to come on our show later today and throw some cold water on the Broncos' optimism. But I think this Denver team is the most likely candidate to take the Chiefs down in this division.
So where are you at then in general with, let's say, second-year quarterbacks who actually do quite well during their rookie season?
They concern me.
Okay, so
C.J. Stroud.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have like some pretty big question marks about the Commanders this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaden Daniels was incredible, obviously. But also, like, how much does that get balanced off by your trust level in Sean Payton to make it work and to steady the ship and make sure Bo Nix doesn't come crashing down to earth in year number 2?
Well, that's part of it, too. Obviously, you thought about that because when you're thinking about making futures plays and putting stuff out there, people are going to follow you on some of these plays. You got to think about every aspect of it.
Yep.
I'm concerned about Bo Nix in the second year because we see a lot of quarterbacks who are good as rookies slump as sophomores. C.J. Stroud was one. And you can say injuries, whatever you want, played into it last year with the Texans, but he was not as good. He definitely was not as good. I'm concerned about that with Jaden Daniels, with Bo Nix, and with some of the other second-year quarterbacks. But the thing that keeps me optimistic about the Broncos in this offense is that Sean Payton knows what the hell he's doing. He's got a great offensive line in front of Nix, great weapons around him. And Bo Nix is also a guy who knows how to study. He knows how to do the film work. And somebody made the comment recently, and I couldn't agree more, said if you took Sean Payton out of the equation and said which young quarterback reminds you the most of Drew Brees, you might say Bo Nix.
I think you might be spot on with that.
He's a little bit more mobile, a little bit, Brees was an underrated athlete, but Bo Nix is more mobile and can get out and make more plays with his legs. But I think as a quarterback, a pocket quarterback, very similar, I think Sean Payton's got his guy. And that's why a lot of us criticized Payton, said it was a reach. But he took Bo Nix at number 12. Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And, so you brought up, again, the luck factor to remind people of that last year with the Chiefs. And I was looking at this earlier today in the standings for this division and overall in football. So 15-2 overall with the record. Their point differential was plus 59.
That's ridiculous. Also, they got beat 38-0 at Denver in Week 18, which you kind of got to throw that out.
Okay. But still, it was trending that way the whole time, throughout the year, like another one score win by the Chiefs. The Chargers had 11 wins. They were plus 101. Denver was 10-7. They were plus 114. And for comparison's sake here, the Lions also won 15 games last year. They were plus 222.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they throttled everybody. The Chiefs throttled like nobody.
Chiefs were 12-0 in one-score games. Everybody knows that number. But the key is Patrick Mahomes in his 5 starts in the division went 5-0. 3 of those wins were by exactly 2 points.
Yeah, wow.
And they probably should have lost all 3 games.
Yeah. And you like the Broncos more than the Chargers because you were super high on LA last year.
Super high on the Chargers last year, but as I've talked to you about, that a lot of that had to do with the Chargers' weak schedule a year ago.
Right.
And I don't think the Chargers' defense is that close to the level that the Denver defense is on. So, yeah, I do like the Broncos a little bit better.
Fair enough. And you can get, by the way, there's a plus 120 on over 9.5 wins out there.
Right.
So that's a pretty good
plus
number.
Plus 110 right here at Circa, which is great, but 120, and those numbers are going to disappear.
Of course they will, yeah. Maybe by the end of today, who knows? You want to know where the money is really going? Unlike other sources, our betting splits come straight from Circa and DraftKings Sportsbooks, giving you insight into where the sharp action is landing. Circa is known for taking big bets from pro bettors, while DraftKings provides a broader market perspective. That means you're getting the real action, not just public money, but the kind of wagers that move lines. See the percentage of bets versus percentage of handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. Get VSiN's exclusive betting splits for as little as $9.99 when you first sign up for your first month at vsin.com/subscribe. Again, that's vsin.com/subscribe. I'll tell you about a bet that I made on a season-long win total coming up, and we'll keep going down the NFL path up next. I think we're going to be in for some really fun season-long battles for a bunch of these divisions. That's next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Follow the Money here on VSiN. Mitch Moss along with Matt Youmans. He's in for Paulie Howard, who's on vacation today. You were making a great case for the Denver Broncos to go over their win total and to win the AFC West in the previous segment. The team that I bet, my only win total that I have as of right now, and coming up, and we'll do another edition of the betting guide. We'll all have way more bets in it at that point. We'll add more to the portfolio. But again, our guide's coming out this week, and it was like there was so much information and so many picks in there today. It was awesome when I saw a lot of the people here at the network, what they were putting in. And my one win total is Minnesota over 8.5.
Mike Palm has the same bet. We talked about it on the show yesterday. That's a major adjustment from what the Vikings did a year ago.
So here was part of my write-up in the guide to remind people. They played on the final Sunday night of the regular season to be the 1 seed.
Yeah.
overall, and Sam Darnold was their quarterback.
And he was terrible in that game, and that's why the Vikings lost that game and then lost in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. So he's no longer there. And I think the biggest question mark that people have on this team, obviously, would be J.J. McCarthy. Matt, I'm telling you, Paul Charchin was in studio with us last week, and he came on with us in the offseason already, and he basically just scoffed at any idea that McCarthy's not – he's like, that's not even a concern. Like, he's going to be – unless he gets hurt again, the guy's going to be completely ready for the football season. You should have no worries about his injury from 2 years ago.
I don't have any worries about his injury. I just wonder what level he's going to play at as a rookie who's been out of it for a year and a half, you know. And Sam Darnold put up great numbers all the way until Week 18,
that's right.
until the postseason. Kevin O'Connell did a great job with Sam. I really didn't think Darnold could play at that type of level that he did a year ago, but I kept waiting for the real Sam Darnold to show up, and it finally did. So McCarthy, J.J. McCarthy, I think could put up good numbers. He's not going to put up the numbers Darnold did a year ago, but then again, you might not need that because this Minnesota team is pretty much solid in every aspect. This is another roster. When you look through it, you're pretty impressed. When you go through it, pretty impressive roster that the Vikings have put together. I agree with your play and Mike Palm's play here, over 8.5, because you're basically buying low on a team that's got a legit chance to win this division. I think this division's up for grabs.
So do I. I'll ask him more on that in a second. But, again, I think to our point about trusting Sean Payton to make it work in year two with Bo Nix and not to have a drop-off, I have to say that I'm right there with Kevin O'Connell. What he's done in 2 years now in Minnesota has been extraordinary to me. Yeah. And the guys he was making work with 2 years ago after the Kirk Cousins injury was incredible. Last year was even a better job done by him. And I love Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator. Oh, yeah. And for some reason, like, this defense is thought of, it's not really even considered one of the better, but they have parts and pieces to that defense all over the field that I really like, and I think Flores is one of the best there is in football as the DC. And then they also brought in they have a better offensive line. They brought in Jordan Mason. Charch was making the case that they're going to be more of a run team this year than in previous years with O'Connell as the coach. But also McCarthy's going to be throwing to maybe the best wide receiver in football. He's got Jordan Addison. They got T.J. Hawkinson. Like, there's a lot. It's a top 5 most difficult schedule in the league, which scares me. But again, my trust level here with the head coach and the overall roster is high enough to bet that over 8.5.
Yeah, here's another thing about the schedule. Sometimes it doesn't turn out to be as difficult as it looks like on paper in the preseason.
Sure, right.
You know, some of these teams don't turn out to be what you think they're going to be. You can't get too scared off by the schedule. And that's one thing I'm kind of struggling with when I look at the New York Giants. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later in the show. But don't let the Vikings schedule scare you off here, because I think this team's legit. I know Charch said that about McCarthy. I've still got some questions about J.J. McCarthy until I see it, because he's been off for so long.
I don't blame you.
And I think Kevin O'Connell is a rising star as a head coach in the NFL. He reminds me a lot of Sean McVay. And
very much so.
He's going to be in that class of elite coaches, I think, before long. So I would agree with you. I think this is one of the better win total bets out there right now. That 8.5 is a cheap number.
I like that bet quite a bit. By the way, in this division, you said it's wide open. Honestly, the only team I don't think I can make a case for is Chicago. Just because I think they're good, and I expect, you know how, well, is Bo Nix going to fall off in year two? Well, what about Caleb Williams? Maybe he actually is better in year two than what he was last year, because I thought that he had a lot of weak moments as a rookie, especially the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And I think they're going to be just overall better. But I can't have them ahead of the Lions, the Packers, or the Vikings. I just can't. I don't think they're better.
Bears are going to be better, and they're still going to be in the basement of the division.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, yeah. They're going to be in the basement. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Ben Johnson's going to go in there. It's going to take him time to get things right. They're going to look more professional, much more professional this year than they did a year ago. Look, that was an amateurish, clownish operation a year ago.
Oh,
think about the Bears and how they mismanaged the clock in that Thanksgiving game at Detroit. It was a joke.
That's right.
Ben Johnson's going to make this a much more professional organization. Caleb Williams, it came out that he didn't even know how to study film the right way last year.
How about that?
How does this happen at the NFL level? The clock mismanagement, a quarterback who doesn't know how to study film, and a coach who's just clueless. Matt Eberflus was clueless. I said that for 3 years, and finally the Bears dumped him. big upgrade with Ben Johnson. But again, he's a first-time head coach. I think there's a lot of things that still need to come together for the Bears. Last place team in the division, but this division, obviously, you would rank number 1 or number 2 in the NFL, top to bottom. I still think the AFC West is the number 1 division in football. NFC North close behind at number 2. And I say that partly because all of the North teams bombed in the playoffs last season.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I think the Lions are going to take – I also think the Lions are going to take a significant step back.
So do I. Yeah. I think last year was the year for Detroit. Mm-hmm. And because of the injuries, it never got their form. And I can't be on that team this year. There's no way.
You lose 2 offensive line starters. Detroit's strength was its offensive line, running the ball, being more physical than you up front. Mm-hmm. So you lose 2 starters on the offensive line. I'm not really impressed with the depth and what the Lions are going to replace those starters with. Ben Johnson also did a great job of, let's say, bringing out the best of Jared Goff. Is there going to be a drop-off with Goff now that he's got a new offensive coordinator? I also think the coordinators in Detroit make Dan Campbell look a little bit better. Because at times he can be a caveman with his game management decisions. He can do some dumb things. But those offensive and defensive coordinators last year, I think, made him look better and kind of disguised some of his flaws. The Packers are the mystery team for me in this division.
Me too.
And a lot of it has to do with Jordan Love. Didn't like the way Jordan Love played the majority of last year. I like a lot about the Packers. You're tempted to play the Packers over 9.5, right? You're tempted to bet the Packers to win this division, but I'm not quite there yet.
No, neither am I. Another one I wanted to run by you, because I think we're both really high in the Rams, and I know a lot of people are making the case in the Pro Football Betting Guide here at VSiN on the 49ers. And the 49ers schedule is so doable for them this year.
Such an easier schedule than what the Rams have.
No, I know. So, look, I'm not going to be stunned if the 49ers win that division, but the first bet that I made in the offseason was the Rams at 30-1 to win the Super Bowl.
That was the first bet I made, too. And we didn't talk about that until today.
I love them.
Mm-hmm. I talked about that on a show we did, I think, in March.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe in early March. 30-1, played the Rams. I didn't think the Rams were going to generate this type of betting support in the market by now. Because I looked last week, and the best number you can find on the Rams anywhere is 22-1 now to win the Super Bowl, which is surprising to me. But I like the Rams a lot. 30-1, it was a good bet. Right now, I think it's circa the Rams are somewhere around 16 or 18-1.
Are they that low?
Yeah, it's a totally different play.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
DraftKings has got 22-1. I think that's the best number you're going to find.
All right. But here's the thing. I also think the Cardinals are going to be sneaky good. And I don't know what to think about Seattle. I think they're a wild card. They could go either way. I think the defense can be really, really good. Mm-hmm. But what's it going to look like with Darnold there?
That's a good division. I love the coach. Don't love the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's a problem, right?
Yeah.
We saw Sam Darnold. We just talked about his last 2 games last season. I just can't believe in Sam Darnold, especially now that he doesn't have Kevin O'Connell.
Exactly right. Yep. Before the line moves, the sharp plays at sharpplays.com is already there. They don't chase the market, they move it. You're not going to outmuscle billion-dollar sports books or full-time professional bettors on your own. But with the sharp plays, you don't have to. Powered by cutting-edge AI and trusted insider sources, the sharp plays delivers the edge that serious bettors rely on. You're going to get free betting reports, real-time alerts, and market-moving insights, all delivered right to your inbox via email or X. And this isn't some overnight startup. The Sharp Plays has a documented track record going back to 2011 with receipts, public logs, and results right there on the website. SharpPlays.com, trusted by pros, watched by books. Check them out today at SharpPlays.com. I also had another, are you buying into Jacksonville over Houston?
No, not really.
Not there?
I never buy into Jacksonville.
That's a rarity for me as well.
I don't like that coach. He's an oddball. He's going to have to prove it to me.
Okay.
Can't do it. By the way, just check Circa's app. Rams 16-1 to win the Super Bowl. Was 30-1.
Yeah. Up next, Jeff Seeley on the program. We'll get his breakdown and best bets for the Rocket Classic here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.